Hey folks, welcome back to Guitar with Ed. Today we're going to talk about your practice space, wherever it is you practice. You need to set yourself up a practice area and have things kind of ready to go. It makes life a lot easier and you're more likely to practice longer, you're more likely to practice, period. If you have to haul all your stuff up and set it up every time and spend 20 minutes getting ready to practice, it's not very enticing and not very inviting, and you're probably not going to do it most days until you really have the urge to try to play guitar. So this is going to be just some basics on what you need to get going on. First, you need some kind of place in your house. Basements are great. You know, if you can get in the basement and find the corner of your unfinished basement or whatever it is, or maybe a spare bedroom, or if it's the corner of your bedroom, set up a little area in your corner of your room where you got everything set up and ready to go. It's really important. So I'm going to cover some of this stuff. First off, you need the space. We've covered that. And if you have to practice someplace like, if you have like little ones, 8, 10 years old, and you're practicing, and you want to keep an eye on them, you know, at the kitchen table or whatever, there's still going to be a few tips in here that you need to do, need to have going on, or should have going on. So, first off, you need to have some kind of chair or a stool. I recommend no arms, because the problem with a chair with arms is with the guitar, of course. With the guitar, you're always banging the arms. You know, it's big, and most chairs with arms aren't big enough to accommodate a guitar. So you're sitting on the edge of the chair, trying not to hit the arms, and clank, clank, clank. And you're not very comfortable. So you're not going to spend much time practicing if you're not comfortable. That's just the way it is. Okay, so that's covered. Number 2, just like you saw me putting my guitar away, get yourself some kind of guitar stand. This one, the Hercules stand, is a great one because I really find it my fave, because it does this whole locking thing when you drop your guitar in. Now if it gets knocked over, and it's pretty stable, it doesn't get knocked over so easily when you have kids and stuff. But they're expensive, so they're great, but they're expensive. So if you're on a budget, that won't work for you. Sorry, I'm running around. I got props here today. These guys are fairly inexpensive, and you can get single versions of them and stuff. And they work just fine for all intents and purposes. The only thing I don't like about them is they're tippy. I mean, if you have a little ones running around your house and your guitar is gone, get yourself a wall hanger or something. I have guitars on a wall over there. I'll post a little bit. I'll add a clip of my practice space to show you what I have going on. But you don't need anything this insane, a soundproof studio room kind of thing. But the whole thing is, when you're practicing, you're going to feel really vulnerable, and you got outside noises, kids running around, all that jazz. So you need to find yourself a space that you feel safe, because playing an instrument requires you to fail over and over and over again. And by failing, you eventually figure out what you need to do, because there's lessons all over the internet, and I'm still in business when I shouldn't be, because at some point you need to go to someone to show you fingerings, how to hold your hand, stuff like that, that is not getting translated through the videos, or points that were made in videos that didn't sink in to you at the time. So find a space that you don't feel like everyone's listening in and it's not total chaos going around you, so you can concentrate on what you're trying to do. The chair is important. Back to the chair. These little guys. Something like this is great. I use these on gigs when I do the fingerstyle guitar stuff, because I sit down to play. They're awesome because they take no space, and they're light, and they set up pretty quickly and tear down pretty quickly. $10 Canadian Tire. 2 or 3 times a year they go on sale. And they're well worth the buy. Okay. So next, even older people, adults and children, a lot of us, depending on how your stool is, how high your chair is, you may need to get some kind of foot support. What I'm talking about here is something like this. Collapsible footstool. You can get these for like under 20 bucks, 20 bucks ish at any music store. It really has some version of this. These work quite well because a lot of times your chair is too high. This guy's adjustable. But say the student is 8, 10, and their legs are dangling off the chair. I like to teach by example, so I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you. So something like this. Now if you notice, my leg here is on an angle. So what I find with the younger students, and that's what that's all about for me is younger students, they're trying to play guitar, this is hanging down like this, and their guitar's doing this more than they're actually playing guitar. And they start to try to do something, and all suddenly they're chasing their guitar around like crazy. So with something like this, you can adjust it to whatever height you need, really high if you need. Now I have a 90-degree angle here. I have a great base for my guitar to sit on and balance. So already you're ahead of the game because then you don't have to play the pull up your guitar game and you can actually play. So these work great. But there's other ways, other things you can do. You don't have to spend the money at all. Get a pile of old books, you know. Go to a yard sale and buy some books, some old encyclopedias or something hardcover. Make a little stack. Boom, there you go. You can also use your guitar case. A lot of guys do that, but it's kind of cumbersome and in the way. You can also use something like this. Everyone's got some kind of stool in their house. And it'll work just fine. You might have to put it out a little bit, move it in a little bit to find the right way. Or go to the dollar store and get one of those little one-step stools that fold up or something. They're pretty cheap and accessible for everybody. And you'll practice longer this way because you'll be comfortable. And sitting upright and everything is a big part of it too. That way you don't have a sore back, sore neck. You know, when you're doing all this weird stuff, people do this all the time with the leg. I don't know if you can see my calf on the tiptoe. And that works for a little while, and then well, then you start becoming uncomfortable and you stop practicing. And I'm guilty of doing this all the time, the crossing the legs. And what I'm doing really is raising my guitar. This is uncomfortable. There we go. And when I do this, it's okay for a while, but then my leg starts to go numb, or my foot. I get up to go to the washroom or get a drink, and then I get up and I just about fall on my face because I didn't realize my foot was half numb. Happens more than you think. So the footstool, all that is a really important feature. Okay, next point I want to cover is having a music stand. These guys, they're cheapies. They work just fine for most intensive purposes. They're again under 20 bucks. You can get them at any music store. I personally, they work. They do what they're supposed to do. I find if I, in lessons with these guys, and they're adjustable, they're designed to hold a page or a very small book. In lessons, I tend to be pointing at the page a lot, and next thing you know, that goes on. And I spend half the time in my lesson picking the page off the floor and cursing the stand. And most of my students will attest to that. So what you might want to do, is get yourself one of these fancy dancy orchestra stands. They're great. Because the problem, excuse me, I'm turning my back on you. The problem with that little stand is if I put a big giant book like this jazz theory book on it, it's going to collapse. It just is not designed to take the weight. This thing, it'll take it no problem. I mean, there's like 500-600 pages of scary music stuff in here. And most music teachers will tell you, on a break, you can set it up, eat dinner on it, or you can set up your laptop on it, or your iPad or whatever on a stand and use it to take videos or pictures or whatever. It's kind of cool, actually. They have multiple uses. And I do use this in my studio for taking videos and such sometimes too. So we got the music stands out of the way. You'll find though with a music stand, and studies have shown that you're more likely to practice. What was it? 30% longer was the stat I read. As opposed to having a table like this and reading all like this. Your your back will hurt. So I guess that makes it your neck. And you'll be sore. But another trick I found traveling around on the road, and I'm sure other musicians do this, everyone's got a laptop. It's suddenly adjustable. It suddenly becomes a music stand. It'll hold that, it'll hold a book, Fretboard Logic, great books, and voila. So you don't even have to spend the money if you got a laptop handy, unless you need both at the same time, then you have a problem. Excuse me. Okay, so the next point I want to make is you need to have yourself some kind of speaker set up, so that way you can hear what you're trying to learn how to play. If you're not reading and you're trying to learn like an actual song, and so you can also play along with it. So as you can see, I have speakers set up, and I have my 16-track recording machine here. And I plug my computer with a cord into that, and into the speakers it goes. You can just get yourself some little computer speaker set up that you can buy, even at the dollar store or whatever. You get what you pay for at the dollar store, right? So it's not going to sound so good, but it works. So you go with what you can afford. The studio monitors are really expensive, so don't go that route. Yeah, get yourself a little set of speakers, because the speakers in your laptop is going to work to some extent, but if you start trying to play along with this, it's gone. There's a few things you can do too, because you're going to need volume, because these are loud. So one thing is playing softly. Get yourself a feedback buster. I'm going to start using this more in my studio so I can control the volume a little more. Pop it in. Acts like a mute. Don't fight. Oh, I almost lost it. Ah. There we go. It acts like a mute. Of course, it's going to fight me today. And now, it's not quite as loud, because one thing is, when you're practicing, you don't want to annoy everybody else around you. Because if everyone's unhappy around you, you're going to hear about it, and you're not going to want to practice so much. So they're a great help to quiet down the volume, so you don't need to crank the stereo up so much. Because when you're playing along with the song, you need to hear yourself, but you also need to hear what's going on in the song, so that if you miss where you're supposed to go, to the chorus, to the bridge, whatever section suddenly changes on you, you can hear it and correct it. So the speakers, that's a really important part of things. And a big part of having your whole place set up is just that, having it set up. You want it convenient so you'll practice. If you have to set everything up, tear it down, set it up, tear it down, you're not going to practice. So that's a very important part. And that's pretty much my long-winded spiel here about practicing. All these tips are really important, and they'll help you practice longer and help you improve as a musician. So I hope you enjoyed these tips. I know I'm talking fast because I'm trying to beat the 15 minutes before my camera shuts down on its own. Just get in touch with your rewind button. As a musician, you'll get used to doing that anyways with rewinding songs. So happy practicing. Try to set up yourself a space that you feel comfortable in, and enjoy the ride. If you're enjoying what I'm talking about and the subjects here, please subscribe below, and I'll get back to you on more. Thank you. Have a great day.